Good day to you. I hope you're having yourself an amazing day. If you're watching or listening from abroad, and I hope you had a good day if you're watching or listening from Kenya. This is the Black Hot Fire News update. We'll be looking at everything that has been happening throughout the whole of Africa today, what was hitting the headlines in the whole of Africa. And of course, our main headline today is on how Gambia is looking to overturn FGM ban at 2015. FGM, in this case, meaning female genital mutilation. So we're going to be looking at how Gambia is looking to overturn the female genital mutilation ban that was put in place in 2015. Yep, you heard me right. So welcome to the Black Hot Fire News Update with me, Dimore. I'll be taking you throughout the whole of Africa, looking at whatever was hitting the headlines today, and of course, keeping you on the know on what you need to know from each and every corner of Africa. And let us start with Kenya, where 11 students have died and 21 others have been seriously injured after Kenyatta University bus collided with a truck in Voi. 11 Kenyatta University students died and 21 others were seriously injured on Monday evening when their college bus collided with a truck in the Maungu area near Voi on the Nairobi-Mombasa highway. Voi Sub-County Police Commander Dusala Ibrahim said that those injured were rushed to hospitals around the area. The bus was ferrying students heading to Mombasa for an academic trip. 42 students were in various hospitals, while others are not accounted for at the time of airing this report. So that is 11 students dead and 21 others seriously injured as they were heading to Mombasa. Their bus collided with a truck near Voi. So, and there's been a rise in accidents, not just in Kenya, but the other day it was Egypt. There was another bus accident in South Africa. So I don't know if it is a problem of our roads. It is a problem of the vehicles that we import into our country, into our continent and countries, not being roadworthy, not being safe, or it is a problem of us maybe driving recklessly. I really don't know what is the problem with our roads, because road accidents, the other week it was Egypt, where so many people were killed in Egypt in a road accident. There was the one in South Africa, and now this one in Kenya, and this is just but one. There has been several accidents, and these were 11 students who died as they were headed to Mombasa for an academic trip. So I don't know what the problem really is with our roads. I'm gonna do a show on this. I'm gonna do a show on accidents, because it is a big problem. You know, we get a lot of road accidents. The other day we lost world champion, world record holder Kiptum in a road accident. So these accidents are really too much, and this is what happened.
And sad news here with the tragic death of 16 people in 2 separate road accidents. In one of the accidents, 11 students from Kenyatta University died and 21 others were seriously injured when a college bus collided with a truck at Maungu, that's past Pipeline, on the Nairobi-Mombasa highway. Confirming the incident, Voi Sub-County Police Commander Dasala Ibrahim said those injured have been rushed to hospitals around the area. The bus was ferrying students heading to Mombasa for an academic trip. Dasala says 42 students are in serious hospitals, in various hospitals there, while 4 others are not accounted for. In another accident, 5 people died, while 18 others were injured after a 14-seater passenger van rammed a tractor at Kimugul area along the Olonguruene-Silibwet Road. According to witnesses, the driver of the van, owned by Bomet Travelers, lost control on a steep slope and rammed a lorry that was heading towards Olonguruene town. Bodies of the deceased have been moved to the Tenwek morgue, with the injured receiving treatment at the Tenwek hospital.
And I'm gonna look into the crash test or the safety of these 14-seater matatus, 14-seater PSV, public service vehicle. That is one of the major means of transport in Kenya, in Uganda, and in so many African countries. And how safe are these 14 seaters? Because a small accident happens and so many people die, even a small crash. So how safe are they? Has a crash test been done on their Toyotas? It's a Toyota Hiace, if I'm not wrong. How safe are these vehicles? Is it a problem of the vehicles? Is it a problem of the roads? Is it a problem of corruption? Because most traffic police officers are so corrupt, and so a vehicle will get away with so many things. For example, it might not be having functioning brakes, but once you bribe the police officers on the road, then nobody is going to care. So is it a problem of corruption? Is it a problem of recklessness? Is it a problem of unroadworthy vehicles that do not satisfy the safety standards?
Hiyo ni barabara, kuna ajali mingi imetokea. Hii ni ya tatu sasa, na watu wamepoteza maisha.
So that man is saying that is the third accident that happened on the same road this week. So that is what was happening in Kenya, with 11 students dying, a total of 16 people dying yesterday alone from road accidents. Those are the ones that were reported, and it is a whole topic to talk about, people who are getting killed in road accidents. And I'm gonna check on the crash test for that specific 14-seater that is the main source of transport in Kenya. Many people don't even use buses as much as they use the 14-seater matatus. We call them matatus. And in other news, 2 people have been arrested for heckling during President Ruto's Bomet tour. So apparently, President Ruto was in Bomet and Kericho County, which are among his strongholds, one of the areas that he got a lot of votes, and people heckled him. And when he gave promises like he always does, people shouted at him, and that did not sit well with him. And the government ordered the arrest of all the people who shouted at the president. All those who booed the president will be arrested. That is according to Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki. So police in Bomet have arrested 2 suspects in connection with the booing during a presidential function in the county last week. Addressing the press on Tuesday, Bomet County Commissioner Ahmed Omar said the 2 were nabbed in their hideouts. So they were in hideouts for shouting, for heckling, for booing the president. And they are currently being interrogated by security forces. Omar said that 3 other known persons are being sought by the police over the same. President Ruto's tour of Bomet on Saturday was characterized by chaos after a section of the area residents publicly booed him and the governor, Hilary Barchok. The visibly agitated head of state called for order and reasons as he lectured the residents for booing the county boss and him. Ruto, while attempting to calm the residents, urged them to be patient and utilize their power at the ballot during the next election in a bid to hold non-performing leaders accountable. So, Interior's Cabinet Secretary, Kithure Kindiki, Professor, has since called for the arrest and prosecution of those individuals who booed the president during the political gathering. So, there are people who are going to be taken to court and to jail for shouting, for booing the president. In as much as funny as it sounds, no matter what the president say, you are not supposed to boo, heckle, or shout back. So those are people who've been arrested for doing that through an order that was given by the Interior Cabinet Secretary. His name is Professor Kithure Kindiki. I don't know what happened to free speech. I don't know how you are supposed to express your dissatisfaction with a leader if you're not even supposed
And
to.
welcome back.
You're not even supposed to vocalize your agitation. You're not even supposed to speak out when. So, and what this is going to create is an atmosphere of fear. And I know that is what they want, because now nobody is going to boo, nobody is going to vocalize their frustrations anymore, because they have seen, if you vocalize your frustration, if you boo the president, if you heckle the president, you're going to jail. So nobody is going to be doing that anymore, and that is free speech for you.
Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has condemned rising political intolerance in parts of the country and warned those behind Kericho and Bomet heckling that their days are numbered. Kindiki at the same time directed security officers to apprehend those inciting violence.
Nobody is above the law, and all politicians must do their politics within the law. They are free to disagree with each other. They are free to have a different opinion, but they are not free to use criminals to harass, incite, intimidate, or disrupt public meetings. And this hooliganism and disruption has taken a life of itself, not just here in Trans Nzoia. You saw last week the kind of activities that were taking place in presidential meetings in Kericho and Bomet. We made it clear that that will not be countenanced. So we are not, as we are not part of the political discussions, our work is to secure the nation and make sure that everybody follows the law.
I would agree with him if he was talking just about the violence. Nobody is supposed to cause violence. And if they were maybe throwing stones or causing physical harm to other people. But this is just verbal altercation. The president saying something and you not agree with it, so you heckle, so you boo. So apparently that is not allowed anymore. And those are two people arrested and many more being sought for voicing their dissatisfaction with the president. So, and hi Jibajaba, and welcome to the news update. Today we are going to be looking at how Gambia is looking to overturn an FGM ban that has been in place since 2015. So Gambia is looking to overturn a female genital mutilation ban that will see female genital mutilation become legal in Gambia. It will be the first country in the world to have that, if I'm not wrong, to have it legal. And in the last piece of news from Kenya, Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale has declined to reveal how the Kenya Defence Forces spent 135 billion Kenya shillings, citing national security. So Aden Duale is the Cabinet Secretary of Defence, and he has said he's not going to reveal how they spent 135 billion due to national security concerns. Efforts by parliamentary committee to establish how the Kenya Defence Forces spend 135 billion Kenya shillings proved futile after the Ministry of Defence declared that revealing such details equates to risk of national security. Defence Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale refused to give a breakdown of the expenditure of how KDF spent the billions in the 2022-2023 financial year when he appeared before the National Assembly Committee on Defence and Foreign Relations on Tuesday. Despite protestations by members of the committee, the CS was adamant that he could not share how they spent their budget. So he said the only way he's going to share was under the chairmanship of the commander-in-chief. So the only person he would share to was the president. According to a report laid before the committee, the Kenya Defence Forces spent 98 billion Kenya shillings in salaries, 28 billion for operation cost of military bases, including food. The forces also spent 1.7 billion Kenya shillings on maintenance of major parts and equipment, shilling 1 billion on civic aid. So that was the one that was able to be revealed. So I don't know whether this is truly a matter of national concern or a matter of corruption concern. I'm not familiar with this. I don't want to comment on this. I don't know if in other countries, and Jibajaba, you can tell me this. I don't know if in other countries, the Ministry of Defense stipulates how it spent its budget. So it's the first time I'm seeing such a thing. I don't know if it's the norm of the day. I don't know if this is how it happens. But the cabinet secretary refused to reveal how they spent 135 billion that was allocated to them, citing national security concerns. Let us now head to Gambia, where Gambia is looking to be the first to overturn an FGM ban that was put in place in 2015. And talking about being put in place in 2015 should first and foremost tell you something about Gambia. So female genital mutilation was not an issue in Gambia until 2015. That is when they banned it. That is when there was a law to ban it. And even after that, it looks like they want to go back to it. So they want to overturn the 2015 um, law that saw FGM banned, and they now want to make female genital cutting legal. It would become the first West African nation and the first country anywhere to make that reversal. I don't know if we are moving forward or moving backwards, if we are having this discussion in 2024, if we're still having a discussion on a country wanting to re-implement, to re-establish female genital mutilation in 2024. So, lawmakers in Gambia will vote on Monday on legislation that seek to repeal a 2015 ban on female genital cutting, which would make the West African country the first nation to make that reversal. The procedure, which also has been called female genital mutilation, includes the partial or full removal of the external genitalia, often by traditional community practitioners, with tools such as razor blades and at times by health workers. So we are talking about, when I say FGM, female genital mutilation, I'm talking about the partial or complete removal of external genitalia. And it is often done by traditional community practitioners. So it is a female getting their entire or partial external genitalia removed. It is incorrectly believed to control a woman's sexuality and can cause serious bleeding and death. So even the main reason they do it is so stupid. It is to allegedly to control a woman's sexuality. So cutting the external genitalia will make a woman not as sensitive to sex as they are with their external genitalia intact. Part of the what is being cut is the clitoris. So when it is cut, what that means is the woman will no longer enjoy intercourse as much as they would have done if they had their genitalia intact, and so they won't have an interest in sex as much as they would when they had the genitalia intact. So the main reason, which is stupid, is to control a woman's sexuality, to make them not enjoy sex as much, and therefore they are not going to look for it. The bill is backed by religious conservatives in the largely Muslim nation of less than 3 million people. Its texts say that it seeks to uphold religious purity and safeguard cultural norms and values. So that is what they said in the bill that has been backed by religious leaders in the country. Gambia is largely a Muslim nation, so they said we are seeking to uphold religious purity and safeguard cultural norms and values. Gambia's former leader, Yahman Jammeh, banned the practice in 2015. 2015. So before 2015, FGM in Gambia was legal. It has only been illegal. It has been banned for the last 9 years, and they are seeking to now that the former president, the former leader Yahya Jammeh is not in power. They want to redo with the ban and go back to FGM. More than half the women in Gambia, that is girls aged to between 15 and 49, have undergone the procedure. Those are statistics that are there. More than half the women, that is girls between 15 to 49 in Gambia, have undergone the cut. The ones who have survived for the last 9 years are now just waiting to see how the parliament will vote on Monday. And I can assure you, this being a Muslim country and with the religious leaders backing the motion, the religious leaders are really backing it. They're the ones who are pushing the agenda to have the FGM ban overturned. So there is a high possibility that the FGM ban will be overturned. And there's nothing really the other part of the world can do, because once that law is passed, then anybody who is in Gambia is going to now be affected by it. That means it will be legal and for women and girls, young girls, to have their genitalia cut. And that is the conversation that we are having in Africa right now. Instead of talking about how to improve our economy, instead of Gambia talking about how they are going to create more jobs for the people of Gambia, instead of the people of Gambia talking about how they're going to gain more from their imports, from their minerals, The discussion that is happening right there is how to reestablish, to reinstate female genital mutilation in 2024. This is the conversation that we are having in an African country like Gambia. A small country, by the way, that is supposed to be rich. It is a country of only 3 million people. That is smaller than the population of Nairobi. Smaller than the population of Nairobi alone. So it is a small country that is supposed to be, it has a lot of minerals, by the way. It is a country that borders Senegal. It is actually called Senegambia. There is a part of it called Senegambia. So it is a country that should be focusing on economic development, economic growth. But with the religious rhetoric, they are now calling for reinstatement of the female genital mutilation ban. And if you look at how it's done, it's not a good thing. It is hurting to the women, and they have no say in this. Removing the external genitalia of women is, to say the least, stupid, archaic, and outdated. And to back it up with religious rhetorics that we are seeking to uphold religious purity and safeguard cultural norms and values is another form of stupidity. Have you dealt with corruption in your country? Have you dealt with unemployment? Have you dealt with the poverty levels in your country? For the only thing remaining right now is dealing with female genitalia. And I don't know, I'm happy for, and it actually says the former leader, his name was Yahya Jammeh. When he banned the practice in 2015, he surprised everyone in the country. There was actually a backlash. People could not believe, how could you do this? That is why now that he's no longer in power, they want to reinstate it. And that is what has been happening in Gambia. And a big shout out to K. Williams, who's saying that is pure madness and sick. They need to fix Gambia and get rid of all those puppets. And no good white people there are just a bunch of cowards. And that is why people call them dumb. And the problem they get, and they are talking about the problems they get, and they are talking about hurting females, sick-minded people. Yeah, with all the problems that Gambia has, Gambia is a poor country, by the way. Let me look at the GDP of Gambia before they start. Maybe they have a good GDP. Let me look at their GDP. It's a poor country. It has a GDP of 2. What is their GDP? It has a GDP of 2.038 billion. That is a very, very poor country. If I compare it with Kenya, which is not even the best comparison because it is another poor country, Kenya's GDP is like 55 times higher than that of Gambia. So Gambia is a poor country of 3 million people. And the only thing they're thinking about right now is reinstating FGM. That's African politicians for you. And to back it with religious rhetoric, they know once they sugarcoat it with the religious rhetoric, then the people are going to buy it. Even the women in Gambia are going to buy it. Because I was looking at the FGM culture, because it is there also in Kenya, in some communities, although it is getting outdated. It is separate. It is very few cases. Some of the people who really push it are women, those traditional women. They're the ones who make the cut. They're the ones who push it. They're the ones who push the once they add this religious rhetoric to it, now the people of Gambia, with their dumbness, the women and the men are going to support it. And so the MPs who are part of the MPs are the one who brought the bill to parliament, the Gambian lawmakers. So they are the ones who, they're also going to support it. And so the people who are going to really suffer are the young girls, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds, who have no say. Because you look at the women there, they have been brainwashed for years and years and years, and you can't convince them that a woman can be a woman without having their genitalia cut in 2024. They can't believe that a woman can be a woman without having their genitalia cut. You know? And one of the books that I've read in Kenya to do with the female genital mutilation is a book by Henry Olkoyut. It's called Blossoms of the Savannah. You can look for it online. It's a book that talks about FGM deeply. And one of the themes in that book is women as their own enemies. That is one of the major themes in that book, women as their own enemies. You look at that book, you look at the accounts that are there, some of them fictional. It is the women who push the girls to it. They're the ones who do the cut. But you really can't blame them, because most of these communities are patriarchal, they are male dominated, and so the women have also been ordered to do the same by the men. Now the women themselves cannot stand they can't stand for themselves, and they're the ones who push the girls into it. They're the ones who do the cut. They're the ones who beat up the girls who do not do it. They're the ones who, so it's a whole brain. I don't know what to call it. I don't even believe this was ever part of African culture. I don't believe FGM was ever part of African culture, female genital mutilation. It has no it has no benefit at all. No health benefit. No benefit at all. Something that has no benefit. That is what has been happening in Gambia, with them looking to overturn the FGM ban. They're going to vote. The lawmakers are going to vote. I don't want to dwell so much on it, because as K. Williams says, he cannot believe that this would even be a topic anywhere in the world. I don't believe how this is even a topic of discussion. Female genital mutilation. How is this even a topic of discussion? Let us head to Senegal on lighter news, better news, where there are celebrations after Senegal's opposition leader and his candidate have been freed ahead of presidential election. So his name is Osman Sonko. He was freed from jail late Thursday ahead of the presidential elections later this month. Sonko is widely seen as the main challenger to President Macky Sall's ruling party. So Senegal has been going through this tough political period, with President Macky Sall postponing the election, then the court considering his postponement unconstitutional, the parliament backing him up, the people going to the street to protest and saying Macky Sall is a dictator, they want their elections held, and the people won. And so elections are going to be held in a few weeks' time. And so on Thursday, opposition leader Osman Sonko was released, and he is the main challenger to President Macky Sall's ruling party. Sonko has been in prison since July. He was in prison since July. Macky Sall put him in prison since July. So Senegal has been operating without an opposition leader. So it wasn't immediately clear how their release was done, but we're going to see whether Sonko will be able to challenge Macky Sall's ruling party in the upcoming selection. I like calling them selection rather than elections. So that was what was happening in Senegal. At least better news than the ones in Gambia. At least political prisoners have been released. That is Osman Sonko and his some of his supporters who've been in prison for quite some time. Let us now head to Nigeria, where gloomy news as expected from Nigeria, where at least 100 other villagers have been kidnapped in the latest mass abduction in northern Nigeria. So looks like right now the business in Nigeria is you kidnap people, you ask for ransom. There are another 300 school kids in Nigeria who've been abducted, and the government and the ones who abducted them are asking for ransom. But Tinubu said they're not gonna pay a single dollar they're not gonna pay a single dollar for no hostage. So the Abductors gave them a time span, which they said if it expires without the government having paid the ransom, they're going to kill the school kids. So I don't know how this is not yet a discussion in Africa with all the puppet bodies that we have. This is a cause of concern. This is something that should have called for a meeting of African leaders when we have people getting kidnapped every day in Nigeria. 300 the other week, 100 yesterday. Mass abductions happening every day in Nigeria. Nobody's talking about it. Tinubu is more interested in Niger and Burkina Faso living ECOWAS than the people getting kidnapped. So in a continent that works, this would be a whole cause of concern. Africa would be in a standstill. Leaders would be meeting at night to talk about how they are going to rescue the kids in northwest Nigeria and do away with the armed rebels once and for all. In a working continent, though. In a continent that works, this should be. The gunmen attacked local communities in Kaduna State, Kajuru Council area on Saturday and Sunday and kidnapped 100 people. Kaduna State is the same area where nearly 300 school children were abducted less than 2 weeks ago. The latest kidnappings, like the previous one, have been blamed on the bandit groups known for mass killings and kidnappings in Nigeria's northwestern and central regions. Most of the bandits were previously herders in conflict with local communities. The kidnappers attacked the Dogon Noma community early Saturday and abducted 14 women, then attacked the Kanjuru Station community on Sunday and seized 87 people. So yesterday there were some soldiers, was it 14? Nigerian soldiers who were killed as they were responding to another case. So there was another case, soldiers responded and 14 of them were killed. Was it 14 or 6? I can't remember well. That was when Tinubu ordered for a manhunt. So a lot has been happening in Nigeria. And Tinubu came out the other day and said, we won't pay ransom for kidnapped victims no matter what. Said they're not going to pay ransom for anybody. They made a total of, they made a ransom request of 1 billion naira. That was the money that the people who have the school kids requested. And it's not the first time this has happened. If you remember well, in 2014, school kids were kidnapped in 2014. And there was this whole drama and ransom was paid. But so now Tinubu has said that he's not going to continue with that trend of you kidnap people, we pay you. Say that he's going to go into the ground with his soldiers and they're going to rescue the kids. So we are going to wait and see what is going to happen. And all we can hope is for the best for the people of Nigeria and for those who've been kidnapped to get rescued. All we can do is hope. Let us finish with Congo, where Congo has reinstated the death penalty after more than 20 years. Congo has lifted a more than 2 decades old seize on the death penalty as authorities struggle to curb violence and militant attacks in the country. So the statement dated earlier this week said the ban from 2003, which allowed offenders accused of treason to get away without proper punishment, has been lifted. So they are just trying to contain the armed rebellion that is happening there. And so they have reinstated the death penalty. And my worry is whether it is going to be misused, especially now that it is they are citing treason as the main cause of them reinstating the death penalty. So if my main worry is with this trend, are the same way we saw the Senegalese government jailing opposition leader. So are we going to start seeing opposition leaders, if this trend was to pick up in Africa, are we going to start seeing opposition leaders get arrested and detained and killed for treason? But that is just Congo that is looking to reinstate the death penalty. This is in target of the March 23 rebel groups, which have been the most dominant in the region, causing chaos in Goma and in North Kivu, killing people every day. There has been this whole humanitarian crisis going on in Congo. with people getting killed every day. We have more than 100 armed groups, but the March 23 is the main one. So I guess this was just a measure for them to try and contain the March 23 rebel groups and the other rebel groups, so that if they arrest a leader of the rebel groups, it is now going to be legal to have them executed. Treason will now get a death penalty in Congo. That is according to Justice Ministry on a statement that they released on Friday. On the news, on the other part piece that I was reporting on, it was 16 soldiers who were killed yesterday when they were just responding to a case of distress where it looks like another kidnapping was happening. And K. Williams say religion is poison to all black people, referring to the FGM ban getting repealed in Gambia. And talking about religion being a poison to black people, let us head to Zimbabwe on our last piece of news, where a Zimbabwean prophet has been charged in court over child labor. So a man calling himself Prophet Ishmael was charged in a Zimbabwean court on Thursday after police raided the compound where he had a religious sect and found more than 250 kids being kept away from school and used as cheap labor. A man of God, Prophet Ishmael, had kept 250 kids in Zimbabwe and he was using them for cheap labor. Police also discovered 16 unregistered graves, including those of 7 infants, at the farm about 34 kilometers northwest of the capital, Harare. Ishmael Chokurengwerwa, that is his name. Zimbabwean names are so hard to pronounce. Ishmael Chokurongwera and 7 of his aides were charged with exploiting kids and denying them access to education and health services. The sect leader is also accused of breaking the law that requires death and burials to be registered. So we do not even know what happened to the 16 unregistered graves. There were 16 unregistered graves near his sect headquarters. Religion for you? This comes after a few months after the Kenyan incident, where the other one had asked people to fast, and more than 500 people fasted to death. Fasted to death. A religious leader, a cult leader, asked the people not to eat. And they did not eat. And they died in. There was a mass grave where they were buried, more than 500 people. They even stopped counting. At one point, they stopped counting. Religious brainwashing is a big issue in Africa. That is why you are seeing in Gambia, for them to have the FGM ban repealed, they have to give it a religious angle. They have to say, we are trying to uphold religious and cultural norms in Gambia, and the people are going to buy it. People are going to buy it. And so the men were pleading with the magistrate to release them on bail, saying they were not violent people and that they had children to look for who are going to suffer if they were sent to prison. I'm talking about the men who were arrested in Zimbabwe, the prophet and his aides. They were pleading with the magistrate to release them, saying that they were not violent people and they had children to look after, the ones that they were using for free labor. So if you want to know how the brainwashing is, after they were arrested, interviews were done on the church members of the church that had hosted the kids. And this is what one of them said. This is a church member from, his name is Tabeth Muptama. He was a church member from the same church. He said, this religion is a great religion of God and nobody will stop it. We are not afraid and we are unstoppable. I don't know what to add to that. Even after he was found with all those kids and unregistered graves, I'm talking about 250. 250 is not a small number. 250 is a lot of kids not to be in school and being used for cheap labor. And when he was found, the people on his church, this is one of them saying, this religion is a great religion of God and nobody will stop it. We are not afraid and we are unstoppable. And even the followers traveled to the court hearing to show support for him. So they were there showing support for him. The same way we saw members of the Kenyan cult leader going to court to support him. Even when they were taken to hospitals, they had to hide food put in them using pipes because they refused to eat. The cult leader had told them not to eat. So even those who were rescued refused to eat, and they had to use pipes they had to directly put food into their blood so that they don't die. Adults, by the way, not talking about kids, adults fasting to death. Adults fasting to death. That is religion. That is how religion has and religious leaders have brainwashed a continent. And now everything is looked at from a religious perspective. That is all we had. That is all I had on the Black Hot Fire News update on a night where Gambia is looking to reverse its ban on female genital cutting, female circumcision. I don't want to call it that, but that is what it is. On a night where 11 students and 21 others, 11 students died and 21 others were seriously injured after Kenyatta University bus collided with a truck in Voi as the students were headed for Mombasa. On a night where celebrations are happening in Senegal after opposition leader has been freed ahead of presidential election. It is also a night where Tinubu has said once again that they're not going to pay for ransom for kidnapped victims. This is after another 100 people abducted in Nigeria. It is also a night where Congo has reinstated the death penalty after more than 20 years. And lastly, Zimbabwean prophet has been charged in court over child labor. So that is all that was happening in the whole of Africa. Today, you are now up to date on what was happening in each and every part of Africa. And let me just look at the comments where K. Williams say religion is poison to all of black people, which I've just shown, which is true. And he says, I feel sorry for all the females. There's a bunch of backward guys living there. And the worst part is they don't even have a choice. They don't even have, there's nothing they can do about it. Especially the young girls, the 15, 14-year-olds. All they can do is just hope that the lawmakers are not going to vote for the bill. But if the bill is voted in on Monday, then female genital mutilation in Gambia will become legal, meaning it will be legal to cut a female genitalia off. In what they said, a bid to restore religious purity. And he says, I'm at work listening to this. This is pure madness. It is pure madness, K. Williams, for lack of a better word. And thank you for joining me today. And thank you to Jiba Jabba too. And to all the people who are with me and who did not comment, who are just listening to me as they were working. And of course, to all the people who are going to watch this update later. That is what was happening throughout Africa. Make sure to catch me tomorrow as I'll be telling you about what will be happening in Africa tomorrow. And all the madness, the circuses, and the theatrics that the leaders are going to serve us tomorrow. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day if you're watching from abroad. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your night if you're watching or listening from Kenya. This has been the Black Hot Fire News Update. It's always a pleasure, ladies and gentlemen.